Welcome to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Legal issues simplified through real client stories and real-world experiences. Creating simplicity in 3, 2, 1.
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd.
As business attorneys for healthcare practices, we meet a lot of interesting people and learn their amazing stories. Brad, this season's theme is asking for a friend. We will tackle questions that practices are sometimes afraid to ask.
Now, audience members, as you know, this is a safe place, and everyone knows it's not you asking the questions. Only if you say the magic protective words, you're asking for a friend. Now, Michael, I'm really excited for our guest to come on today's show, that he's actually flown in and is in studio.
Yes, so you need to behave yourself.
Okay.
I'm excited too. But I do have a couple things to talk about.
Okay.
Some important.
Very important?
Yes.
Okay.
So you remember in our recent episode with the Ryans with VO, we were talking about the death of dial-up internet.
Yeah, it was strange to think that people in this day and age still actually had dial-up internet.
Well, we have something else that's dying. I'm not sure how you're going to feel about it.
Okay.
I read an article recently that the use of the semicolon in grammar is plummeting.
Sorry, you used a word you might have to define. What is grammar?
That's actually one of the funniest and most on-brand questions you've ever asked me. The article noted that you're more likely to find a semicolon in computer programming and tattoos than in text these days. And I have to say, I used to be a fan of the semicolon back when I did more formal legal writing. I may be one of the ones that's guilty of not using it.
Yeah, I would say it's been a long time since I've had to use a semicolon, but I recently had this super long paragraph, and the only thing I could figure out what to do with it was, or sentence was to put a semicolon there. But my English teacher, Miss Frew, shout out to Miss Frew, she always said no, she hated semicolons, that it was better to have multiple sentences.
Okay. Well, I do remember that back when we first started working together 20 years ago, we used to battle over the use of commas. It's been so long that I can't remember if I accused you of liking commas too much or never using them.
Yeah, I don't know what the conversation was, but however it ended, I'm sure you said something. As an all-state typing champion, Michael Byrd is correct. And as we all know, you like to refer to yourself in third person.
Well, you just said something important. We have our friend here in studio with us, and he may not realizing he's sitting among high school typing greatness. So, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I don't have my trophy to stick in here.
Obviously.
But clearly our comma debate was important since neither of us really remember much about it.
Yeah, everyone loves the debate grammar, said no one ever.
Also accurate. Okay, let's bring John on.
Yes.
Our friend John Wheeler. We've known each other we go way back. He, little stats, he's the CEO of Alpha Aesthetic Partners, the co-founder of the Esthetics Center. That's actually where John and I first met each other years ago. Other interesting tidbits: former pastor in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, frequent lecturer at medical conferences where we see each other out on the circuit, so to speak. One thing I'm curious about, it says on his bio, his spirit animal is the Komodo dragon.
It is.
All right. Favorite coffee, vanilla nitro sweet cream cold brew at Starbucks.
Which you guys were kind enough to bring to me. So thank you. What a treat.
Your bio paid off. Yes. And first-time guest. Welcome for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor. Fun to do it in person, too.
Absolutely. Well, I guess we're going to need to start off with some very important questions here, John. First, why the Komodo dragon as your spirit animal? And second, how do you feel about the semicolon? So you can answer it in whatever order you want.
Man, I mean, first of all, it's just an honor to be with two former high school typing champions.
Just one.
Just one.
Oh, okay,
yes.
just one.
Yeah.
Are you, and I'm like a huge keyboard nerd. Like, I don't know if you're tracking with some of these mechanical, like the renaissance of mechanical keyboards.
No.
But like people are building their own keyboards with these really fancy little switches.
Oh, really?
And these switches have these special sounds. So there's like thocky sounds, there's creamy sounds.
Oh my.
Yeah, you gotta check it out on YouTube. You'll go down the rabbit hole if you're a big
Yeah,
fan.
that is a
Love it.
definite rabbit hole.
So the Komodo dragon is kind of a crazy story. I don't know if we want to start there, man. But
Okay.
It's pretty heavy.
Okay.
But really, it just has to do with when they bite their prey. There's this old legend, and they've kind of disproved it, but the legend is that their prey actually can't clot in their blood, so they kind of bleed out and they die. Then the Komodo dragon eats their body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, we can cut that from the episode, but that's why I'm like, it's just I went to Komodo Island, actually, my wife and I, in 2017. I was just totally inspired by this Komodo dragon, and they're just these beautiful beasts.
Yeah,
That's
very
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, and they eat animals much larger than themselves, which is cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So then, how do you feel about the semicolon? Then we can go there, right?
I don't know that I've ever, while you guys were sharing that, I'm like, I don't know that I've ever used a semicolon in my life.
Yeah. I think they teach it in law school.
What is the actual reason to use a semicolon?
It's like basically if you have two long sentences, you need to break it up and still keep it one sentence. So that's probably why it's dead. It's because people just use a period.
Yeah.
Yes.
And write a second sentence.
Right.
I think sentences are probably getting shorter and shorter
That could be
with
true
every
also.
year. It's like we're just real quick and to the point now.
For sure.
Yeah.
The texting generation.
Yes.
Yeah. My typing skills are pretty useless these days.
When you were typing in State, were there emoji buttons you could press?
I'm so old that when I was typing in State, it was an old school typewriter.
How many WPMs we talking?
Oh, man. So without mistakes back then, it's actually not that impressive in the scheme of things, but it's I think to be in State, you're like in the 70s,
Okay.
and maybe the early 80s and they net out mistakes. So,
But this is on an analog typewriter.
So
Yeah.
you had to press the
Yeah.
button and it had to roll all the way back over.
and I've never really disclosed this before, but I'm actually not that great at it anymore. So
Okay.
I just like to talk about the old
Thanks
days.
for sharing
Uncle
your
Rico.
deep
Good old
dark
days,
secrets.
Uncle Rico.
Throw a pigskin over them mountains.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, let's get into it. That was fun. Tell us a little bit more about you for our audience that hasn't met you yet, and I'd love to just introduce yourself.
Yeah. Well, like you said, started in the medical spa specialty in 2017. Really got kind of my formal start in 2018 when we officially launched our first clinic. But we were laying all the groundwork in 2017. Actually, interestingly enough, it was so my father-in-law and I, and obviously Michael,
Yeah.
my father-in-law Reg, him and I had created Esthetics Center together. I had not really heard of the medical spa space in 2017. Like, I was not the little boy that was like, one day I'm going to be in aesthetics. Just wasn't me. But I was in ministry, and then I had started a business and ended up selling that, moving back home. That's when my father-in-law said, hey, what if we did this medical spa thing together? And again, like, I had kind of heard of Botox. I couldn't tell you what it didn't know anything else about the specialty. And this is September of 2017, sent me to an AmSpa boot camp in San Jose, California. And that was where I learned all about the specialty, and came back. The first thing he asked me to do was to write his website. This was before ChatGPT.
Uh-huh.
And so I actually had to write in the Word document, it's about 70 pages of content on all of the different treatments that we offered in our med spa, and just took it really seriously. And that honestly was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it helped me understand like the physics of how the CO2 laser works, or the physics of how the ND-YAG laser works, or the rheology of how this filler works versus that filler. And so that was kind of how I got my start, and then ended up, he asked me to become the manager of Esthetics Center, and then we became partners. And then actually it was through that partner journey that Michael and I got well acquainted, because I'd never heard of an MSO in my life.
Yeah.
I was like researching medical schools in the US and Mexico, because I'm like, well, we want to be partners, but like I think I need to become a doctor, so like I need to go get a medical license somewhere. And that's when I talked to Michael, and he's like, there's this thing called the MSO. And so actually you helped us create the MSA. Michael Byrd wrote our MSA between my father-in-law and I in 2019.
Yeah.
The rest is history. Now we have this MSO that we created from Esthetics Center called Alpha Aesthetics Partners. Today we have 31 locations. At the time of this recording, we're in 12 states. We have about 15 brands that we operate.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I'm probably the most proud of is, to my knowledge, we're the only medical aesthetics platform, multi-branded platform, that was created from within the space. So we really have this from inside out type of approach.
Yeah.
Where again, I've run medical spas at the most granular level. And there's no part of us that's like these spreadsheet warriors or these outsiders coming in trying to tell insiders how to run med spas. It's like we know how to run med spas. We work really closely with our partners to help them run theirs because we've done it before and we eat, sleep, and breathe it. So that's kind of my background.
That's amazing. I've never heard one of the things you shared. I'm most thankful about us working together is that you didn't have to go to medical school just to partner with your father-in-law.
Me too. I am very, very glad that was the case.
That's
well,
amazing.
I was going to ask the follow-up question with the 70 pages of website. You never once thought about using the semicolon at all?
Never thought about it. Actually, I'd be curious how many times ChatGPT uses the semicolon.
Oh, it probably doesn't know it exists either.
I know. I mean,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'd never thought about that, but yeah, it's dead.
Well, you've kind of hit it around this then, so we have your background about going there, but tell us a little bit more about Alpha and Aesthetic Partners and what does it do?
Yeah, so what we do, so I can tell you a little bit about the origin and kind of how that informs what we do. In 2023, sorry, let me say that again. In 2022, in the summer of 2022, I really started to see what was happening within the space. And like you guys, I get the opportunity to speak all around the country at a lot of different events and just started to see that the investment community had taken an affection to medical aesthetics and saw some groups start to get formed. And I thought it was really interesting. And I knew that I wanted to be a part of doing that in a way that was people first, patient first, brand first. What I saw was a couple things. Number one, I saw this dynamic in this environment where some of these big de novo chains were like sending in these quote unquote trainers to train people in the field at other med spas. And then a week later, 3 days later, they get a text from that trainer trying to poach them and recruit them away to work at this big chain, which didn't really sit super well with me. And so the way that I felt is like, we have to give the mom and pop med spas, like the founders of our specialty, we have to give them a way to be able to stand up to this onslaught that's coming from these de novo chains. Kind of like what happened with Walmart with Main Street, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
So I'm like, I want to be Luke Skywalker handing out lightsabers to fight the Empire here. Like that actually resonated really deeply with me. And then the other piece was, yeah, like I just saw a lot of these M&A platforms being formed, and it really felt like it was just financial engineering and not a lot more. And so I'm like, well, what if we did this in a way that was just badass? Like, what if we built a company that had the ethos of like a Nike or an Apple? And so that's why we created Alpha. And so what we do is we partner with med spas through acquisition. Again, my med spa Esthetics Center was the founding partner. We have other incredible founding partners as well, but we do partner through acquisition. And what we do is we take over the back office work. We take over, for instance, AP, payroll. We lean in pretty heavily with marketing as well. And then we have this real buffet of options as well that we can add value in. Some of our partners excel and they're like, hey, we don't really need that. Others, we're able to lean in ways like hiring, recruiting, a lot of the HR function as well. We take over. There's so like training and there's a lot of ways that we're able to add value to our partners. So yeah, that's what we do. I was in Kentucky yesterday actually with our newest partner, and she was just absolutely in tears. She was like, John, you don't understand. I get to focus on my people again. Like I'm not so busy with payroll and paying bills and all of this stuff that I hate, being a mile deep into the weeds. You guys are taking care of that now. And I actually just get to coach and love on my people and set strategy and vision for the business. It's like, yeah, it's what we do.
One of the things you and I talked about even just a little bit today, but we've had some cool conversations about leadership. One of the things I love that you've shared is that you, after acquisition, y'all aren't disappearing. Like you're physically going to your partners and work with them. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we have a very substantial shared services organization team. So at the time of this recording, we have about 35 to 40 individuals in our shared services team. So we definitely have a pretty significant presence in our clinics. Again, I've mentioned this, but we're not like spreadsheet operators from afar in an ivory tower. We believe, and our COO Jeff says this all the time, and I love it. What I hear him say all the time is the answers are in the field. And that's what I've found to be true time and time again since we started Alpha in March of 2023. I think that ideas are pretty overrated. I think that execution is pretty underrated. And so, to be honest with you guys, a lot of our best ideas come from the field. Like I get to travel around with my little notebook and my pen, and it's like, what would make this partnership better? And last fall, actually, I had a really impactful. Like I try to visit every single clinic every couple quarters. Have a newborn, so it's a little harder this year. But that's the question I always ask: is like, how are you experiencing the partnership? And what I found last year was I met with a ton of providers, so not just our partners, but our providers as well. And they said it's fine. Like it's not bad, it's not great. It's just fine. It kind of feels the same. And I kind of took that as a win at first. It's like, great, we didn't break the business. So that's good, right? Like we integrated successfully. You're happy just like you were before. But then the follow-up question that I started to ask is like, okay, and this is how I looked at it, is like, let's say there's a scale from -1 to 0 to +1. I felt like a lot of our team members were to 0, right? So neither neutral nor, neither positive nor negative. And the question is like, what I have to do to come back a year later and for you to say, this is actually the best thing that ever happened to me in my career? And just was able at so many of our clinics to compile those answers. A lot of it had to do with like training and HR support and a lot of these things. And yeah, now when I get to go into the field, it's like, this is actually the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I love that. And
Great question. A great way to kind of look at it too.
yeah, I know Brad's beaming when you were talking about execution being underrated and ideas being overrated. As a dreamer, my heart hurts a little bit, but that's why I have Brad. He's our details guy.
You're like you're the visionary, you're the integrator. It sounds like in Traction.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to get to our core theme question, and it's probably a jumping off from what we've just talked about anyway. So, our theme is asking for a friend this season, and we're kind of molding it off the Dear Abby, common scenarios. So, we've got a scenario for you. We got a med spa operator who confided that she is considering, in quotes, selling to private equity, her terms, and is scared of what life after selling will look like. And so you've kind of started talking about this, but I'm asking for a friend, and we can kind of expand. How does partnering with a private equity-backed platform help a practice? And maybe also talk about not just what y'all do, but the things that, to watch out for in identifying and partnering with somebody.
Sure. And what I want to do here, my heart here, is to deliver the goods. And so just to be really, really practical here, I think that there's something that people need to understand. So to this individual, whether real or proverbial, what I would say is, for most platforms, at least for Alpha, and I would imagine for most, I think that the first misconception is that this is like an exit. And it's definitely not intended to be an exit, at least within Alpha and at least within the platforms that I'm most familiar with,
right,
outside of ourselves. The way that I would think about first and foremost, and I think this will inform the rest of the answer here, is you can kind of think about an M&A platform almost like you're selling into like a de novo chain to like start your own territory. And so the level of engagement, like let's say that, and I know you, like I'm friends with Ryan, the guys at VO, right? Sounds like you just had them on the pod. The level of engagement that you would need to operate like a VO franchise territory is definitely the same level of engagement that you're going to need once you transact your business into an M&A platform. So don't think about it as I'm going to tap the brakes, I'm going to peace out. Think about it as I'm going to sell into this thing, which is going to create tremendous value. But there's also going to be additional expectation than what I had when I owned my own thing. And I think that's something that might come as a surprise to a lot of people. Yeah, we do lean in a lot of ways. But it's kind of like you're joining like a big league baseball team. Like you're now playing in the majors. And so a lot of the operational infrastructure, like it's very standardized, right? Like there's a lot of things that we need to have happen that our managers need to execute on at a really high level. A lot of times that can be the rub, just to be very transparent, is we hold our managers to high account. We have pretty lofty expectations for our managers that they're really good at running their units. The fun thing for them is it's almost like they're getting this MBA type education in the real world. But yeah, I'm kind of blanking on all of the question, but those would be some of my initial reactions to what it's like.
That's great. I love this, the expectation setting of it's not an exit.
It's not an exit. And then the other thing too that I think is a surprise for a lot of people is most of these platforms, right? Very KPI numbers heavy. And so this philosophy that I have and that most people would have is know your numbers, know your business. And so there's going to be a lot more weekly, monthly, quarterly meetings over what are the numbers doing? What are the KPIs doing? What are we going to do about it? Are you communicating your provider's goals to their providers? Are they hitting their goals, right? It's not necessarily like a shaming thing, but it's very much like a dialogue about we have a lot of capital that has been entrusted to us. Every single platform does. We have to be good stewards of that capital. Like I said, we're playing in the big leagues. It's serious game here.
Yeah.
And so we try to be good stewards of that, again, with great ops and great KPIs and great visibility. And
when you're having that conversation with them about, hey, your providers are going to have to hit these markers, for a lot of them, is that the first time they ever even heard, thinking about it that way? Because it's obviously, if they're kind of, and I'll use the term, the mom and pop kind of thing, they're just doing well, they're making money. Have they really focused on how many people does how many times does my provider see a patient? What type of injections are they doing? Is this new to them? So new that it's almost like they don't even know how to have those kind of hard conversations?
For many, it is new. Yeah, what I find in our specialty is that most owners are very familiar with, on some sort of a cadence, whether monthly, quarterly, annually, looking at top line revenue, probably on an annual basis, looking at the profit that falls to the bottom line. Many are not used to, though, these operational KPIs. And to be fair, it can be hard to get that sometimes from your EMR and from your tech stack. Usually, like if there's going to be one or two KPIs they're looking at, maybe it's revenue per hour, maybe it's total visits, maybe it's revenue per visit. That typically would kind of be it for the average. Now, again, there's a subset that's a lot more sophisticated than that. There's a subset that's a lot less sophisticated than that, but that's kind of the average of what I would see.
And when you're holding their hands, so, I'm going back to Michael's friend here. She sells the practice, but she's never had these hard conversations. Is it your team that's having the conversation now, or is she going to have to start having those conversations with her providers?
So if we're going to partner with somebody, I would zoom out a little bit. We want to see that there's a really strong provider side of the business that's taking care of the patients. We also want to see there's a really strong manager. So the manager would be the one that's having those conversations.
Yeah.
If they've never had those conversations, that can be difficult for them. And it's kind of a make or break, right? Like, are you able to elevate? If they're not having those conversations, I would argue that they're kind of more like a glorified front desk receptionist. Our expectation, though, is that you are managing, that you're leading people, that you're holding people accountable to, what we need them held accountable to. And again, it's not like if provider X doesn't hit her number, like we're upset, and it's none of that. It's just, again, know your numbers, know your business. And I feel like even for the providers, if it's like, first of all, I haven't met many providers where it's like, hey, like this is your goal this month. And they're like upset about it. Usually it's like, oh, that's super helpful actually. And a lot of the partners that we partner with, the providers have never really seen their numbers. They're
Yeah.
kind of like golfing in the dark.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them actually love now the visibility, being able to compete with themselves, because now they also have the opportunity to be eyes wide open and to earn more money for themselves and their families and treat more patients. And, it's win-win for everybody.
That's great.
Awesome. I'll wrap us up, as this has been just fascinating. Our last question is kind of a futuristic question. Talk about, where do you see consolidation heading in the next 5 years in the aesthetic space?
I think you're going to continue to see more platforms that are formed. I think at about the 3, 4, 5 year mark, you're going to start to see more and more platforms buying other platforms like you do in dentistry.
Yeah.
Right now, I don't know that there's any platforms that are built out enough to do that yet. But yeah, in 5 years, you're going to definitely be seeing that. I mean, it's not going anywhere. Like, this is here to stay.
Yeah.
We've seen this time and time again in so many different medical and dental and PT, scenarios. So yeah, this is absolutely something that's going to continue until we see, 20, 30, 40, 50% consolidation within the specialty, which, by the way, I kind of think is a good thing, right? I'm a big fan of the market driving standardization and change and not the government. So what's the solution to kind of this wild west that you guys, deal with every single day, from like some of the crazy stuff that may be happening in our specialty? I personally, I feel like it is some level of consolidation where there's this standardization and some of this internal gatekeeping around making sure we're delivering great care to our patients.
Amazing. We've blown through our time together. Really loved it. Thank you for joining us on
Absolutely.
the Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. Grateful for you and for coming in. You're right. Much better in person. We'll go to break right now, and then Brad and I'll have a quick legal wrap up. Thank you.
Many business owners use legal counsel as a last resort rather than as a proactive tool that can further their success. Why? For most, it's the fear of unknown legal costs. ByrdAdatto's Access Plus program makes it possible for you to get the ongoing legal assistance you need for one predictable monthly fee. That gives you unlimited phone and email access to the legal team, so you can receive feedback on legal concerns as they arise. Access Plus, a smarter, simpler way to access legal services. Find out more. Visit ByrdAdatto.com today.
Well, welcome back to Legal 123s with ByrdAdatto. I'm your host, ByrdAdatto, with my co-host, Michael Byrd. Now, Michael, for those that don't know, this season our theme is asking for a friend. And we had a great friend. John Wheeler came in here, dropped some serious knowledge on us, really just about the industry in general, and then how the impact is happening when you want to partner with a platform. But I think the word partnering is an interesting word to kind of lean into, Michael.
Yeah, no, I loved how he first pointed out that, you can't, he would just say, don't view this as an exit, but as a partnership.
Yeah.
And when we're helping our clients kind of through this process, both before they decide to go to market, they may be getting their house in order, or in the process of selling, one of the things we talk about is, you're going to have a partner for the first time. And for many of these of our clients, they're used to calling all the shots. They're the sole owner, or perhaps they co-own it with a spouse or a family member, and you're introducing a new dynamic that you want to be prepared for. That there's accountability, and then there's questions that you need to be solving to understand how this is going to work. How are decisions going to be made in running the business? To John's points, what's expected of me in my role as a partner with this, platform that I've partnered with.
Yeah, and understanding that the implications of releasing some of that, right?
Right.
Being okay with that. Well, Michael, that's all the time we have today. But guess what? Next Wednesday, we'll be back again asking for a friend. We bring on Kristen Riley, and she helps answer the question everyone wants to know. Am I allowed to text my patients? Thanks again for joining us today. And remember, if you like this episode, please subscribe. Make sure to give us a 5-star rating and share with your friends.
You can also sign up for the ByrdAdatto newsletter by going to our website at ByrdAdatto.com.
ByrdAdatto is providing this podcast as a public service. This podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast does not constitute legal advice, nor does it establish an attorney-client relationship. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by ByrdAdatto. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. Please consult with an attorney on your legal issues.